The economic crisis is impacting differently around the world, and the truth be said, it's not impacting as negatively in Australia when compared to other countries like Europe or North America. Our government fortunately implemented some economic stimulus packages very early on in the crisis, and I believe that largely cocooned us from the worst excesses of the economic crisis. For education, the economic stimulus was actually good because what they announced was a building program, and what we saw was new buildings in every primary school right across Australia, and in addition to that, refurbishment of many high schools across Australia. For over 2 years, we've been campaigning for a new funding model in Australia. That was made possible because the federal government announced a review of schools funding, and the current funding arrangements are contributing to a widening inequality in educational attainment. For example, in Australia, there's a 2-year achievement gap between advantaged and disadvantaged children, a 3-year achievement gap between Indigenous and non-Indigenous children, and by year 9, the 3rd year of high school, we've got a 5-year achievement gap between the top 20% and the bottom 20% of that cohort. What we've achieved as a result of the review of schools funding and our campaigning is a recommendation for a new funding model which would better target resources to meet the needs of students. And we're talking about potentially an investment of $6.5 billion additional per year, which is about 0.5% increase on GDP expenditure on education. It's a great outcome so far. The new funding model recommends targeting funding to better meet the needs of all children. So schools that educate a lot of poorer children will get more money. Schools that educate a lot of children from Indigenous backgrounds would get more money. And in doing so, will provide the opportunity for teachers to implement programs that will allow every child to reach his or her full potential. With respect to the broader Asia-Pacific area, again, there's variations in terms of impact with respect to the economic crisis. In some parts of Asia, we're seeing some very healthy growth, and in particular, I'm talking about China, India, and other places which are powerhouses of world economic productivity at the moment. We're at our best when we operate as strong, independent unions. And from our point of view, the Australian Education Union, we certainly do a lot of work in the development and cooperation area of EI's work, helping and working with other unions in Asia Pacific to ensure that they better develop into independent, strong trade unions. Independent, strong teachers and education workers working with each other, for each other, in the interests of good educational outcomes. Because we know that together, acting in solidarity, we can overcome the worst excesses of the economic crisis. Quality defined in terms of test results is inadequate because we need to ensure a broad education, looking after the well-being of every child to ensure that they are productive, responsible citizens into the future. We've got to appreciate the social and human dynamic of education. Austerity measures will only deepen the economic crisis. Well, what we certainly need to ensure is ongoing investment in education. So we must continue to campaign as teacher unionists, as educators, to ensure that we continue to grow education budgets to ensure every child is given that opportunity to achieve their full potential. And what we need to do is build broad coalitions of teachers, principals, parents and community members to campaign in the interest of education and improving educational outcomes for all children. Well, I think the seminar was very successful. It grows solidarity, and the essence of unionism is solidarity. We organise and mobilise members, we organise and mobilise the broader community in the interest of achieving great educational outcomes, which are a prerequisite for improving productivity and the prosperity of every nation.